Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Trading Secrets. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. For those of you who do not know, my name is Ali. I have over 20 years experience teaching accounting, economics, business and law. Through this channel I'll be providing some stock analysis and a quick update on the $1 Million Challenge. So if anybody's not aware of this is a journey of an investment of $1,000 to a return of $1 million over a period of 3 years using a strategic or compound return investing. So the objective is try to get 201 trades, each with an average return of 3.5%. It's not 201 consecutive trades, we do take into account losses. So for further details about how to join us for less than $9 a month, information is available in the description below. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the briefing between the SEC and Congress and what we could expect from that. We're also going to be looking at a new legal case against FINRA that has also been submitted, and we're going to be finished off by looking at key questions with regard to the GNS dividend and all you need to know. So before we get started, let's have a look at what's happening in the market. So headline here from Yahoo Finance is here's why stocks may surprise you to the upside in September. So normally September is the worst month of the year for stocks, and this is going back to 1945. So the S&P 500 has declined more than half the time in September, according to the CFRA, with an average return of minus 0.73%. So it is one of the worst months, but I think there is a potential for September 2023 to break that trend. One of the reasons why I think that could happen is obviously because of the AI boom and the AI sentiment that is currently going on. We are expecting big news from Apple, and there is a rumor of a new iPhone, and they will be using the new charger, which I think is going to be the USB-C, so that could be also huge. So let's have a look at how the heat map finished for the previous week. So we can see we are in overall good momentum. Technology, communication, financial and energy in particular finishing strongly in the green. And going back to the month of September, this was a question that was asked in the Discord, and obviously as just stated, the Nasdaq has, with regard to September, has an average positive gain in every single month going back to 1971 except for September. So let's see if we break the trend September 2023. So let's start by looking at the upcoming SEC briefing with Congress on MMTLP. So this was covered also in the previous video in more detail in terms of the breaking news, but this has now been shared by the Frank Nez website. So if we go back to one of the earlier legal cases in the Supreme Court of New York, the blue sheet motion for MMTLP was dismissed by the judge, and he deemed it as speculative and conclusory. So obviously we know that FINRA is a self-regulatory organization. They claim to have immunity, and in terms of the key positive developments that have happened recently, we know that the Republican Congressman Eli Crane has submitted a letter to Gary Gensler and also the House Financial Services Committee. We're looking at in excess of 15 Congress members signing that letter. So what can we expect from this briefing this week? We can expect obviously key developments to be shared. However, unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, this is not going to have any key MMTLP, the MMTLP community present at the briefing. However, I think that's something that we could potentially change with more pressure. We still have a few more days, and certainly if we get some representation, hopefully John Berda or any other members of the community, I think that should certainly be positive. Let's now have a look at some of the key legal developments. So the first development is with regard to Richard Hoffman, who just posted earlier today. The fact that FINRA accepted my position and polled and provided disclosures as to prospective arbiters' knowledge, i.e. naked shorting and counterfeit shares, and their oath to fairly consider all claims in arbitration suggests that FINRA is getting squeezed and in general realizes it has to deal with the MMTLP situation and others. So I certainly think FINRA have realized that nobody's going away. The pressure is going to continue until we get what we are looking for. So let's now have a look at the new case submitted against FINRA. So we can see here that this is the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, and the person who is the plaintiff here, i.e. the person, the MMTLP member of the community, is Eugene H. Kim. So this complaint is against FINRA, who are appearing as the defendants, and the undersigned counsel plaintiff Eugene Kim is filing this complaint against FINRA, and obviously we're looking at a constitutional challenge to FINRA's enforcement structure and the pending enforcement action against Mr. Kim. So obviously we know that FINRA is claiming to be a private corporation with no constitutional responsibilities, but that is not true. They are obviously supervised and reporting to the SEC. Incorporated as not for profit, but they do have significant investments, so certainly seems to be a conflict of interest there. And in other key parts of this case, we can see number 4, in practice, FINRA is nothing more than a federal government's private outsourced mall-up that meets and those arbitrary discipline onto securities professionals while escaping and actual supervision and control by the executive, let alone the legislative judicial branch. So these are allegations against FINRA in this new court submission. And the other allegation, number 5, is that FINRA is violating the Constitution's separation of powers provided by empowering the salaried personnel to unlawfully wield executive power. And then going on, we also got obviously a potential allegation here of violating the 5th Amendment. So remember, FINRA have always stated that they don't want to comment in many cases. However, I think that should not be the case. So their disciplinary process and the enforcement action further violate the Constitution by stripping respondents of their 5th Amendment right to an impartial jury of their peers. So again, this is all against FINRA, and at the bottom we can say FINRA continually and successfully argues they have sovereign immunity from monetary damages. We know they've said that on a number of occasions. And point number 10, there's also an allegation that they have a monopolization of all securities, and obviously their power violates the First Amendment and the Sherman Act. So certainly very, very strong allegations here. Let's now have a look at details of the GNS dividend, all you need to know. So on the website, they have shared information under the title ERL share distribution. So let's have a look at some of the key questions and key information that you need to know. So how do you receive your Entrepreneur Resorts ERL shares on Upstream? So all GNS shareholders as of the record date, August 31st, who purchased and held for 2 days or more prior to August 31st will be entitled to receive an equal proportion of shares in Entrepreneur Resorts Limited, ERL, on the distribution date, which is expected to be around September the 29th, 2023. And the ticker symbol is going to be ERLR. So you should have held your shares from at least August 29th. So that was the last date to buy. So let's have a look at some of the key things you also need to be aware of. So it does say you won't be able to request the share distribution in the Upstream app until mid-September. The exact date is going to be announced in terms of key steps and getting ready for the distribution date. You can go onto your phone, download the Upstream app, sign up, and this can be done on the Apple Store and also on the Play Store. So you will need to complete the KYC identity verification. And in other information that you need to know, trading on Upstream, this is required only for US shareholders. So if you are outside of the US, this will not apply to you. So US investors may only participate in the ERL share distribution of Upstream after creating an account. If you're not in the US, then you will go to step 3. So you skip step 1 and step 2. And in other information here, what we can also see, if we move on to step 3, request your share distribution and verify your shareholding. So the share distribution, obviously we have to wait until around about mid-September and the exact date to be announced, and that is when you'll be able to make your claim. What is the ERL share distribution? So what happened on August 1st, 2023, the Singapore High Court approved the spin-off ERL from Genius Group with a capital reduction and share distribution to all Genius Group shareholders at the record date, which we've just covered, and the total amount is just in excess of 38.5 $38 million in the form of restricted ordinary shares in ERL. So following the share distribution date on or around about September the 29th, the shares of Genius Group and ERL will trade as securities of two separate public companies, with Genius Group listed on the NYSE and Upstream ticker symbol GNS, ERL listed on Upstream, and that is going to be ticker symbol ERL. Shares are going to be received as a spin-off are restricted for a period of 6 months. So basically what that means, you will not be able to sell for at least 6 months. Other information that you need to know is who can participate in the ERL share distribution. So it's shareholders who held 2 or more days prior to August 31st. So the key date there is August 29th. The exact per share rate will be announced to shareholders soon after the record date. So information about that has not yet been shared. Share distribution of ERL is going to be on around about September the 9th. These may be traded on Upstream 6 months after the share distribution date if certain requirements are met. So remember, you must hold for at least 6 months. And when will you receive the ERL shares? Again, on or around September the 29th, 2023. And these are going to be automatically deposited into your Upstream portfolio. So that's why it's important to download the app. How many ERL shares will you be receiving? The number of ERL shares that were distributed to the shareholders will be proportional to the number of shares that you held in GNS. So obviously the more GNS you held, the more shares you will receive. The exact ratio is going to be determined after the record date. Do shareholders need to transfer shares to Upstream before claiming ERL? So simple answer, no. You just download the Upstream app, sign up and complete the KYC. Obviously they do need identity verification as well. So and finally at the end it states here, can shareholders trade immediately after receiving the ERL shares? No, remember there's a 6-month waiting period. Why does Upstream require KYC? Obviously they need your shareholders' name and address to be known. How long does it take for KYC to be approved on Upstream? It could be as little as 15 minutes and it could take up to 72 hours. So again, important key questions there for GNS. And finally, if you'd like to join us and get live trading discussions as well as our weekly watch list, details are in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned.